Hi, in this video today we're going to be talking about functions. This is the second topic in P1 Maths. In this video we're going to be talking about a few terms and definitions to get us started. This is what the syllabus says at the top here, you can see in green. So a function, let's get started with talking about what a function actually is. It's just a special kind of relationship. It's normally defining the relationship between two sets of numbers, but it doesn't have to be. If you want to take a really simple case, like this one here, you could say, you could create a relationship between these two. So you could say this kind of thing. All right. So we've got the boys on the left and the girls on the right. These boys like these girls. So is that a function? Well, a function really simply says that for each x value, in what we call the domain, which is the x values, there is only one unique y value. That's the definition of the special kind of relation here that defines a function. So is that what I've just drawn there a function? Well, for each x value there is only one particular outcome that is a y value. So yes, that one that I've just drawn there would be a function. So let me draw this again. Okay, now is that a function? For each x value, for each value in the domain, we call this values over here the domain, is there only one y value? And we use range, the word, to describe these outcomes, these values on the right here. So in this case, it is not a function. You can see because for the value Carl in the domain, there are two outcomes in the range. So this one here would not be a function. Now, it's easier to think about these graphically as well. So that's what I'll be doing as well in this video, is trying to explain this idea of functions graphically. If we just go back to numbers for a second, you can see for these values here in the domain, there is only one value in the range. And this function here is one that we know. All you've got to do is multiply the numbers by 3 and subtract 1, and you'll get the numbers on the right. So this is a special function. It's called a linear function, and it just says something like this, that the y values over here are 3 times the x values minus 1. Now we use a special notation for functions. We use f of x instead of y. It really is the same thing. So this f of x is just replacing y. So when you think of a graph, the y-axis is just the f of x axis, and there's a few reasons why we do it this way. Instead of saying what is the y value when x equals 1, we say what's f of 1. Now that was a lot quicker, wasn't it? Saying f of 1 than saying what is the y value when x equals 1. So f of 1 is just 3 times 1 minus 1, which is 2. So that's this bit here, what f of 1 is. So on a graph, here is this function here. So you can see for every x value that I have, there is only one individual y value. Okay, any x value I choose, if I go to the graph and go across, I've only got one particular y value. So that says that this thing here is indeed a function. In fact, it's a linear function. So just to give you an idea of the notation, there's a function there, and we want to find the value f of minus 2, which means what's the value of this function when x is minus 2. This is an x value here, right? When we say f of minus 2, that minus 2 is an x value. So we just substitute negative 2 wherever we see x in the equation. And we do that and we get 1/3. So if we're looking at the graph of this, for an x value of negative 2, we would get a y value, or an f of x value, of 1/3. So there's the definition. A function is a relationship between two sets of numbers where for each x value there's only one unique y value. So let's look at that in terms of a graph now. Notice that these graphs along the top are functions. And the one way that you could think of it is you could just draw, let's take blue here, any line that I draw going vertically down is only going to cross through one point. That guarantees that this is a function. Okay, so for every x value here, there's only going to be one y value. And that's true of this one here, it's true of this one, it's true of all of these. It's called the vertical line test. So any vertical line must only go through at most one point. for this thing to be a function. Okay, let's look at this one here straight away. It fails the vertical line test. This is not a function because for that particular x value, in fact, x is equal to 0, you see that there's two y values. Similarly with a circle, there's lots of points here where for different x values, there are two y values, so that is not a function. There's an extra requirement for a function to be a one-to-one function. That's one of the terms that you've got to know. So a one-to-one function is a function where it has also the property that for every y value, there's only one unique x value. So let's have a look at these ones up here, and see if these are one-to-one functions. Okay, so for the line on the left, basically for each x value, there's certainly only one y value, and for any y value that we pick, there is only one x value. Okay, so let's pick this y value here. There's only one x value. So a test or a way that you can think of this is it would have to pass the vertical line test and a horizontal line test. That is, for any horizontal line, it will also go through at most one point. Then it is a one-to-one function. So yes, that is one-to-one. Is this one-to-one? It's certainly a function, we've established that, but it fails the horizontal line test. That is, for a particular y value, like about y equals 3, we've got two different x values. So that is not a one-to-one function. Again, with this one here, it's certainly a function, but if I draw a horizontal line, it passes through lots of points. So this is definitely not a one-to-one function. Now these two down here, we've already said are not functions, so they can't be one-to-one functions because a one-to-one function has both going on. Okay, so that's the definition of what a one-to-one function is. So here's a graphs of a few more one-to-one functions that would pass both the horizontal and the vertical line test.